We have with me Mr. Gaurav Agarwal from Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. He's the Director of Youth Affairs. We have with us Professor Rajesh Khanna from the Department of Chemistry, IIT Delhi. Himself
Chemical
a
engineering.
chemical engineering, Department of Chemical Industry, Chemical Engineering, IIT Delhi, and himself a very good athletics and cricket player. And we'll discuss about his achievements as well later. We have Neeru and Shruti from Pravah. This is an NGO that focuses on character development. Basically aimed at children through multiple means. One of a major means is sports. And I am Ishan. Largely one of which is sports. And I am Ishan, General Secretary, Board for Sports Activities, IIT Delhi. So I welcome you all here. I would still request all of you to kindly spare one or two lines as an introduction. So let's start from you, sir.
Thanks, Ishan. As you already introduced me, I am a mechanical engineer by profession from IIT Kanpur, and I am otherwise a railway service officer. I worked in railways for around 17-18 years, and right now I'm on deputation to my current role in the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports.
So,
yeah, I'm Rajesh Khanna. So, I grew up near a stadium. So that explains, why sports has been an integral part of my life, and I continued playing for a very long time till my teaching days also. As a professor also I used to play. It's only now, let's say in the last 5 years, I have not been playing at all. I picked up other hobbies, but sports have given me a lot, and I tried to pay it back whenever I could. I paid it back.
Yeah, so my name is Neeru, and I work in Pravah currently. And largely, you both are definitely, three of you are definitely sports people. Shruti might also have been involved, but my involvement in sports has largely been very conflicted during when I was growing up, because there were different factors at play. But I'm a social worker by profession and work with young people around leadership and skill building, and how can they, really find their own identity. Started off my own journey around 9 years back as a volunteer myself with Pravah, and came back after completing my education to work with them to continue, to kind of influence and inspire more young people. Yeah.
Okay, so hi, मेरा नाम श्रुति है और I've also been working with Pravah for the past 2 years now. मेरा भी journey थोड़ा सा नीरू से similar है कि I was a volunteer first, and then I started working with Pravah. But with sports, I think, and a lot of co-curricular activities from school, from college, I have been a lot engaged in all of those activities, and I have a fair share of experiences regarding it also. So I'm just excited to have a conversation. Yeah.
And I'm Ishan, and basically today evening I'm just your moderator. So we'll start with the some.
No, tell about BSA. Tell about IIT.
So I'm basically the General Secretary of BSA IIT Delhi. BSA is the Board for Sports Activities at IIT Delhi, and we're very privileged to have this board at IIT, and IIT Delhi especially boasts of a number of facilities at on the campus. If you must have seen, there are some places that are absolutely to be proud of. I can still recollect my first year when I came here. I saw all the 4 hard courts and 4 synthetic courts, and I remember having only seen them while watching the US Open or while watching the French Open, and I could not believe that these were in front of me. And these are not just simply hard courts, right, in a corner somewhere. These were 4 hard courts in a line, and 4 synthetic courts in a line with floodlights and everything. I saw volleyball courts, I saw squash courts. So squash courts are right by your side. If you drill a hole through the wall, you'll possibly enter into the squash court. And the best part I liked at IIT was that there was this freedom. You could walk into the squash court at 2 a.m. into the night and you could play. And same goes for lawn tennis and volleyball as well. Sadly, there are some problems. You cannot actually walk into the football field and play at 2 a.m. in the night because the floodlights would cost you too much. But I'm myself a football player. I've been playing football, I don't know, since 5th, 6th, 7th. And I was basically inspired from a cartoon. But I've been in love with sports since then. And at IIT, especially, there are a lot of people who are very enthusiastic about sports. I would say that it's the like sort of बोल सकते हैं कि इंडिया में थोड़ा ऐसा रहता है कि first you do engineering and then you think what to do. So people come to IIT. I've seen a lot of people very motivated about sports, and not only about playing sports. I've seen people doing projects in sports. I've seen people looking for sports, and I have a lot of friends who are actually looking for trying to do MS in sports or something like the performance biomechanics. Or I really have a lot of friends who are very interested in that. So I see some pure enthusiasm in IIT, which is something a lot of people do not expect. They basically picture us as nerds or geeks, right, just in front of the laptop.
People consider that IITians should be all the time mugging and doing all this.
No,
That is
it's
general
not
impression.
like this. Actually, we had a visitor from Sheffield. Also, they have a department for sports science,
Yeah.
and it was very a lot of students came, and he talked about what science had gone into preparing pitches so that they could beat Australia. And the whole story, the kind of pitches they want and how, Simon Jones could get reverse swing and what happens to the ball and the kind of pitches, because England, they do not get enough sun to bake the pitch. So that was the problem. So they had to prepare those pitches which would roughen the ball from one side, and a lot of science actually went into it. And then he also talked about the bicycle and design of the bikes. You would think that all the competitors who go into Olympics, they had a fair preparation and a fair everything is probably known about the technical advances, but it's not like this. I mean, some things like jerseys, swimming costumes, and especially the bikes. So the equipment was researched, and it's no wonder that England has been, or Great Britain has been winning so many medals in bicycles, because their bicycles were better. Of course, the athletes were also better, but so this university had a mandate to help the Olympic team. So that is the level of seriousness which is there, and so if anybody is interested in doing a program in sports science, I can put him through to that professor, and it's a very vibrant program. I mean, they have shown results.
Yeah.
So this is there, and it became very popular for the students at that time. Many students came and listened to him. And about BSA also, so at IITs, you see, we kind of take full responsibility of the development. So they're largely residential, that's for a reason. And then, of course, the studies, there's a curriculum part, then there's a co-curriculum part also, which is slightly industrial training and these kind of things. And there's a very strong extracurricular part. So at IIT Delhi is like this, that all the extracurricular things or anything which a student does has to be routed through a board. That is the underlying philosophy, you see. And then the authorities and I shouldn't say use the word authorities, but the administration has been able to feel what is required, and if there is a requirement for a board or anything, if we keep reorganizing things, so that every activity, that is, if you look at all the activities around you, Ishan, you'll find that all activities you would have a faculty patron somewhere and a board, and the board is like unit of extracurricular activities. So they will have a student leader like Ishan for sports. Then they will have team captains, as in sports they would have different team captains, different secretaries, different. Then there's something else also which is very, very particular to IIT Delhi, which is the inter-hostel competition. Unlike other IITs, in IIT Delhi you stay in the same hostel for all your stay. At Kanpur, if you remember, you have to keep shifting. So that identity doesn't kind of form. So the hostel identity is a very strong point or a very strong aspect of a student at IIT Delhi. So hostel game sakis are also big contributors to BSA. So when I joined here in 2000 and I started looking at the whole system, and then I said, okay, there's a hostel identity, and then there were talks like this that people are not very happy with this hostel identity, but I said, life is about identities, so why spoil this? So one should use it constructively. So we kind of empowered the game sakis. So if you find your game saki is being a lot of trouble for the president, you know who to blame it for.
Yeah, myself being game secretary, I was the sports secretary of Ginnar Hostel, and I been at the front end. We came second last time, and we missed out just by 2 points. So I know what the intense feeling is, and
And the kind of power which
the kind of
game
power that
secretary
comes with it,
enjoys.
and at the end of the day, the disappointment that comes with losing out by such a margin. And I've actually gone out, and like you mentioned, I would strongly second Professor Rajesh Khanna's opinion here that the identity that comes with a hostel. Like I've actually gone out and I've asked people that would you rather opt for a system like in other IITs where you get shuffled in hostels. So they strongly said no. Like the one thing I strongly connect with in IIT Delhi is the hostel. Like, and that's something I realized. Like first year I came in, people would ask me, okay, what's your name? I would complete the sentence. Yeah, Ishan, I'm from physics department. Yeah, no one cares about your department. What's your hostel?
So at IIT Delhi, just to put things in perspective, so about the youth development. So these students, when they come to the IIT, takes full responsibility for the development of the student. So it's residential, and then there's these boards. So of course, teaching is some other matter in academics, but apart from the curriculum, so there are boards, hostels. So these are very positive things. That there is an infrastructure which exists for a student to do whatever kind of activity they want to do. There is always a way to do it. So, and this is a proof. The reason that we are sitting here discussing about things is a living proof of what can be achieved. So this structure wasn't there, but a student came, there was a requirement, a student kept pushing, and suddenly we have this. So the administration is responsive. So it's a very live kind of system where the system responds to the students' requirements, and sometimes the system is proactive also. So we have seen it happening with of course, sports, of course, was already there. It's a very kind of basic way of youth development. Yeah. But there are other very fine things also which we don't normally realize that these are also important for development. Something like this, broadcasting, showcasing, information, dispersal, and these kind of things. So IIT Delhi for development has boards, has hostel identity, and it's a very, very positive thing. And you just have to see how to channelize it in a proper way, and then a responsive system. So we are ready to change. We are ready to make new boards, if not really big boards, at least small clubs, and then we try to relate it to faculty. So there is always a faculty mentor or a faculty patron who's available. So this is our idea of, let's say, youth development. So it is through this. And it's a very live, very responsive system. So it's not that we have said something and then we'll just stick to that. No, it's not like this. The student responds, and then we also, the student questions, they put up a demand, and we sometimes we see the demand ourselves, we feel that, and then we respond. So this is our idea about the development.
Like Professor Khanna himself has been at the front row. He was the president, you were the president for a very long time.
For many years. Most of these constitutions, most of these practices, these were kind of, because I was there for a long time, so most of these were crystallized during my time. So with a lot of inputs from the students.
These things are there in other IITs, but not in such a way. They are sometimes there, but not utilized to those extent.
At Kanpur, the faculty involvement is not there, because I have a fair experience of IIT Kanpur also.
It is not there.
Even though they have been winning GCs and they have been doing very well for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But still, it's mostly because of the coach and the students.
That's all.
So it's faculty involvement is still
not there
too much.
So you've had the experience of the IIT Kanpur, the IT system, and now you're also seeing the national system as well. What do you think the entire national system can learn from the kind of system that we have at IITs? Do you think are there any lessons that can be taken?
Actually, these are two different things. This is what you can do at a micro level.
Yeah.
I think everybody would like to extend the same at the national level, but you know the size and you know its own challenges. We are having own sets of challenges, and if you expect that everything is to be delivered by the government per se, it is not possible. So there are some of the things have been like cricket, like tennis. So many things have already been taken over by other sectors in the last couple of decades. maybe there was more money involved, more profit was there, more showcasing and everything. But there are other games, so which are somehow not so lucrative to the audience per se in Indian context. If you say cricket, you see it is more popular in India, but in many of the European countries, you find that nobody talks about the cricket at all. They talk about soccer, they talk about other games. So the situation, these are two. One is you cannot compare apple and oranges, but obviously there is a lot more to do at India. We have seen our performance at the recent Olympics. All of us know, and being the highest demographic dividend we have in the world, with so much things, so there is definitely more to do at the national level.
Let's just talk about games and take the
Yeah, I'll
sport
just
then.
add a little bit to this. See, first of all, let's say just to put things in, why development? Why should we develop? Anything in youth? Why can't we just leave them alone and then let them evolve? So coming from the very beginning, you see, when we are born, you see, it's completely helpless, and then there is a collective desire to evolve, to sustain this kind of progress, this kind of living, and to do good, create wealth, create happiness, create systems. So the way to do that is to develop the kid. So that's why you have school, nursery systems, schools, colleges, there's a whole program. And now after that, then there's a lot of skill which is given during these professional courses like IIT. So at every stage, sports has a very different role to play. And it's a very, very subtle difference. So whatever we do at IIT there's a different reason for doing sports at IIT. Doing sports at a national level is a very different thing. At a school level, it's a very different thing. So you have to understand what sports can do to an IIT student. So just for example, if you look at IIT, so sports would typically, one would think that, one would get sportsman spirit, one would get a lot of health, good living, one would maybe learn how to spend his time, how to channelize the energy. So these are the kind of normal things which are associated with sports.
Yeah, so let's
So
ask.
sports at IIT is completely different. Sports at IIT is because the kind of students we get, they have to work so hard before coming here that there's not enough time for playing sports. That is one. The second is there's an aspect of sports which teaches you how to take a defeat. That is very, very important for an IITian. You see, so it's a way of it's like immunization. So it's like a vaccination. So you lose a match, then you play again, you lose another match, and suddenly you realize that there's something called a loss also, and it need not hurt so much. So a person who has not lost at all, because they have always been winning in classes, they have always been winning in social life, the affection of the parents, the society, everyone, the principal, the teachers. So they've all been winners and nothing has been denied to them for most of us, because they've been good students. Now when they come here, because of the competition, you are not likely to be at the top of your class. So that kind of shock which is there, and then you lose all the privileges which are, you're so used to those privileges. So it kind of balances. So if you lose in a cricket match, if you lose in a hockey match, the sports it teaches you how to take a loss. First of all, it teaches you that there is something like a loss also. So that is a very big contribution to sports. That is one of the major aspects why we focus so much on sports in IITs. Otherwise, most of these students in first semester, and you start getting zeros in some of the minors. It's very difficult to
bear those stresses
and
bear
those stresses.
And I think,
At the government level, if you relate it to Olympics, that is one story. And the pride associated with winning an Olympic medal, that is one thing. Sports as a confidence building for somebody who's not good otherwise. who has no confidence at all, you can be able to.
Yeah.
So the role of sports for those people, for those communities, for those systems is completely different. So it is exactly apple and oranges. So if you try to replicate the system here, and you have to realize that this system is heavily funded. So there's a lot of money which goes into sports in IITs, or let's say youth development which goes into IIT. You see.
Yeah, so you were adding something?
Yeah, so I think both of you, I just resonate with a lot of points, and like you said, sir, being able to like take defeat and to be able to learn from that, and I think that is something that we talk about at Pravah, that how the world is basically a classroom, and how do we learn from every experience that comes our way, and so when we are talking about youth development at Pravah. We do talk about how it is how youth are the biggest demographic dividend, and they're there, but how do we develop young people? I mean, we want young people will be developing the country and all of that will happen, but how do I develop my own identity? How do I really find my own self? So I think like you said, sir, about being able to develop those positive identities. So what we have seen in our work is that sports can actually be a great leveler in terms of when you talk about when you go into the community and there's different there's gender, caste, class, all of that playing out. How do you create a positive identity with, say, something like sports, which actually has the ability to create healthy competition and get people together? So when we go on the field and there are boys and girls who won't talk to each other otherwise because the setting is such, but you introduce the element of like a game. And like you said, it is contextual. So IIT में sports would be a different scenario, but when you work in the communities and you introduce something like that, it just changes the power equation altogether. Because then it's not that कि अच्छा मैं if I am from, say, like another caste and I can't have a conversation with somebody from another caste, but when there is sports involved, then the identity of being a child takes over. So sports as a leveler, I mean, we've seen it can really change the game altogether.
That's very true. Like most of the people, I'm
It
sure
helps in crossing so many bridges suddenly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like there's a defeat ki baat ho rahi thi. So like when you're actually in a team and you're going through defeat also, it becomes very easy that you're pacifying the teammates, saying that it's okay, but you're celebrating the joy of just coming together and playing and having fun for 3 years or whatever.
On an ending note, I think we took a lot of things out from this talk. Not only policy changes, but a lot of things about life and sports, and especially about how sports at IIT and at the national level as well are not just merely sports, right? They are a lot more than that in terms of character development and in terms of how inclusion and exclusion and everything. So just on an ending note, I'd like to thank Mr. Gaurav Agarwal, Professor Rajesh Khanna, and my friends Neeru and Shruti from Pravah, and I'd like to thank you guys for having made it till now.